and welcome to our foam roller class. Today I am here, Lauren Syed from Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. I've got Caroline Connolly from Refreshology here in Greenville, North Carolina, and Jennifer Youngs, owner of Young's Physical Therapy, again here in Greenville, North Carolina. So who knows where you're watching from. We're excited to have you here. Again, we're doing a foam roller class. The foam roller is a great tool to use between massage therapy appointments, between PT visits, and even between a nice heavy workout. So again, glad that you joined us. Check out some of our other classes, some of our group fitness, some of our Pilates classes on this YouTube channel or on our Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram, and thanks for being here this morning. We're gonna start with the foam roller actually placed behind our head. So if everybody would lay down, and we are going to place the foam roller pretty much right at our hairline. And we're going to give or take that, just as everybody's hairline may be a little bit different, but the idea is that the foam roller is kind of sitting right about the line of our ears. So from here, we're just going to take a couple deep breaths. So definitely during this time and really any time, it's always good to take just a few moments to bring some awareness to your breath. We'll take a breath in through the nose, and then letting that breath come out through the mouth or the nose, but allowing your body just to rest with gravity on the mat, feeling the full weight of the head resting on the foam roller. And now if you do have kind of a slippery foam roller, if you don't feel like you've got a good contact, you could place your hands on either side of the foam roller, on either edge, and that even gives you a little shoulder stretch, so kind of an added benefit. So from here, with the full weight of the head resting on the roll, I'm going to ask everybody just to start a small nod yes. And the idea here is we're loosening up or giving ourselves a little self-massage of the suboccipital muscle area. This area gets really tight if you're looking at a computer screen, if you're doing a lot of driving or desk work. It can be tight if we feel like that head sits a little forward to the body, kind of in our day-to-day posture. Now when we're using the foam roller, and I'll go over this as we get to different points in the body, we'll probably roll out each area for about 45 seconds to a minute. Make sure that you are breathing. Try to avoid holding the breath. If you get a really tender area, it may be something that you want to work for about 10 to 20 seconds. And if it doesn't continue to loosen up, or if it becomes more tender, we may actually work around that area. So this is your class, but definitely trusting and honoring your body. All right, ladies, we're going to do a small nod no now. So we're going to gently look to our right and then come back across, keeping the weight of the head on the roll, rolling to the left. And we'll go back to the right and just notice if on your body, if one side is more tender than the other. My right side's giving me some nice awareness and wake-up call. So if there is one side that's a little more tender, so for instance, my right side, I'm just gonna hang with that side. I'm just gonna hold a little compression on the area, resting on that side. And I may even do maybe small circles with my face or my nose on that area. And if both sides feel good, then once again, spend some time on each side, or even again, continue to roll back and forth. We're going to work this area for just maybe about 20 more seconds. And then from here, we're coming back through the center, and what I'm going to ask everyone to do is to roll over in here onto your left side, please. So we're just going to be careful as we make this transition. We're going to use our hands and come on up, and we're going to place the foam roller underneath our armpit. for no other better way to say it. So my knees are bent, they're stacked up for a little balance and stability. My bottom hand is going to be a support factor for my head. So I'm resting my head in my hand, and I'm truly just letting the weight of my body rest on the roll. Now this area, in kind of what we call technical term, the axillary region or the armpit region, a lot of things attach here, such as muscles that play upon the shoulder or even muscles that play upon the neck area. And there are a lot of just a lot of circulatory, nerve innervations, a lot of things coming through here. So it's just a good area to loosen up, especially on women. And it's a safe area to loosen up, even if there's been a past history of like a mastectomy or anything like that. It's a good area to loosen up. So what we can do from here is either just rest on the roll, or we can begin to allow our body to roll forward, and then allow our rib cage and trunk to roll back a little bit. So you're just kind of scoping out this whole area. And again, if a point over this little journey feels like it needs a little more attention, then we stick with it. But if it feels good just to kind of go forward and back over the area, let's keep working. So with this class today, our goal is to loosen up a couple of the key areas, definitely neck and shoulders. Caroline, do you have any other thoughts as far as maybe in the massage therapy setting, maybe what clients often say, it's I need work on my neck, shoulders, or like lower back or hips, or is there anything that you want to make sure that we hit this morning?
I also would say probably opening up through the side. Currently right now I'm feeling this a lot in my lats, and we tend to live in a world of being forward all day long in a forward posture. So really listening to Lauren today to help to open up through the chest area.
Great.
So that we can help to release those muscles and back in between our shoulder blades as well.
Cool. We will definitely do it. Jennifer, any special requests?
All of it feels great.
Okay, good. All right, ladies, we're gonna roll through the center. So before we go to the other side, what I'm gonna ask you to do is to roll onto your back. And I want you to kind of, almost as if you're hanging out by the edge of the pool, okay? So that's a nice, it's kind of a rainy day here as we're videoing, and so just to imagine that you're by a nice kind of warm pool or sunny side. So our elbows are linked on the roller. So the roller right now is positioned right about kind of the bottom of the shoulder blade area, okay? I'm gonna ask everybody to interlace their hands and support their head. So you've got a full hammock for your head. So at no point do I want you to feel, oh, this is all in my neck. So if you do, then maybe take a moment to rest and then come back into the position. But what we'll do, the feet are grounded. I'm gonna ask you to lift your hips. So you've pushed down through your feet, you're lifting your hips into a small bridge, and we're gonna roll, ladies, the roller towards our head and neck, but we're just gonna stop at about the top of the shoulders. We don't wanna put full weight on the cervical region or the neck. And then we're gonna roll down right to where we started. So right below the shoulder blades. Right about, for ladies, it might be sports bra line, but again, just right underneath the shoulders. And then roll back towards the head and the neck. Again, we're gonna do probably about 6 or 7 passes through to make it a good 45 seconds to a minute. So I see my elbows kind of in my peripheral vision in my side view, and what that does is they're not necessarily wide open, but if I can see my elbows, that kind of opens up the space between the shoulder blades, as Caroline had mentioned, just kind of that musculature, those rhomboids, some of that area between the shoulders that just tend to get a little achy with daily posture and work-related activities. We'll go for maybe about 2 to 3 more passes through, ladies, and then we're gonna turn on to the other side to get the other kind of shoulder or armpit region. Make sure that you are breathing, not holding our breath, listening to our body, So definitely after you take this class, make sure you drink plenty of water because there can be some muscle soreness both after a massage or a self-massage or a PT session or a workout. All right, we're gonna let those hips lower down and we're gonna carefully roll onto our other side. So you're rolling, so our back is gonna be facing kind of towards the camera, but this is a good view for you to see exactly where we're positioned. So once again, my head is gonna rest on that bottom hand. I allow the full weight of my body. So let your ribs kind of sink towards the mat or towards the floor. And then from here, we're gonna roll our trunk or our rib cage forward. And then roll our rib cage and trunk back. So a little side note, if we can keep our lower body still and really roll through the rib cage, it's a really nice stretch for the mid back, what we call the thoracic spine, where our ribs attach, and that area often gets really tight. And it could lead to neck and shoulder pain, or it could even lead to lower back pain or hip pain. So definitely important to loosen this area up. It's all connected. We'll go for maybe about 10 to 15 more seconds in this area. And it's always good to just be aware if sides feel different. So if there's a big asymmetry, if one side is really tender and the other side just feels pretty good, that could be a key indicator of more of an increase for potential injury with your daily activities. So we want to try to build as much symmetry as possible. And then if you do feel like just something's way off and you feel like maybe you need a little added attention or you need a little guidance, then definitely feel free to call us at Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance or Caroline at Refreshology. All right. Let's go ahead and roll back onto our backs. We're gonna link up pretty much where we were just a moment ago. So our elbows are hooked on the edge. And we're gonna move into a little bit of a mobility exercise, but also a nice little trunk or abdominal strengthening exercise. So hands come back behind the head. We've hammocked the head. We're gonna keep the pelvis resting on the mat this time, but we're gonna allow our upper body to extend over the roll. So the idea here is my lower rib cage and my pelvis are still kind of connected in a nice line, but I'm letting my shoulders, my collarbones, my neck and my head extend back over the roll. With my exhale, I'm going to use the abdominals to curl my body forward, head, neck, and shoulders. I want to look straight ahead at the thighs or at the knees. We'll take a breath in. We exhale to extend back over the roll. We take a breath in here as we're resting over the roll or tractioning over the roll. Exhale, we curl our body forward. This is a great exercise to work the full length of the abdominals, and I'll talk, ladies, if you don't mind just continuing to move. So it's a great way to work the full length of the abdominals, where we don't always get that when we're working from just the floor. But it's also, this can be a safe place to work for participants or individuals with osteopenia, osteoporosis that don't need to do a lot of flexion, because you get to move through extension and then still work the abdominals to bring you up to kind of your starting position. And it's kind of a sneaky one. You won't feel like you're doing, well, I won't say you won't feel like you're doing much, but it's usually one that kind of sneaks up on you after a few repetitions. It's like, hey, I'm doing some nice work here. If you would, ladies, let's go for maybe about 2 more. Good. Make sure the back of our neck is staying nice and long. The front of our throat nice and open. So again, that's where we keep the head fully supported with the hands. We're gonna do one more for good measure, just since I was continuing to talk. All right. So from here, ladies, what I'm going to ask you to do is just to carefully roll onto your side and push yourself up to seated. We're going to go ahead and take a moment to sit upon the roll. So we're going to get into those hips and those glutes a good bit. So from here, we're sitting directly on top of the roll. So you're going to feel kind of the bony landmarks of the bottom of your pelvis or your seat bones right on top of the roll. And we're going to roll out pretty much the musculature around the hips, around the glutes, and that has definitely just so closely connected to the back itself and to the lower back, so this is a great way to loosen that up. This is probably something that should be done every day. So everybody roll, if you don't mind, to your left. You're going to place your left hand down on the floor. My right hand is hanging out on my right knee just so it's kind of out of the way. But what I've done is I've put pretty much all my body weight on the left side, so my right side's just come off the roll. We're going to use our arms, or I should say our arm and our legs to roll into pretty much the buttocks. So pretty much any soft tissue area. And just a little reminder to breathe. Again, this can be an area where you may even feel like a very noticeable kind of boom, boom, kind of roll over with the musculature. So again, if you want to work kind of around that area to loosen up some of the tissues around it, or even just put a little compression directly on that kind of knotty area. Naughty and naughty. I had to make the joke. I do it every time. It's a good area even maybe just to hold and put a little compression on, okay? Now, the way that we can play with this area is you can take that left knee and let it fall really open and out to the left, and that's just gonna change a little bit of the rotation of the hip to where you'll feel the musculature just a little differently. Now, if you choose, last way to progress this today is, or I shouldn't say last way, but another way to progress this is you're going to take that left leg and you're going to cross it over at the alternate knee. And now this really puts that musculature, especially that key word, if you've ever heard piriformis, that puts that on kind of it just kind of pulls it to the forefront as we're rolling out this area. Do make sure as we're putting a good amount of weight on your left arm that you just still keep yourself pretty upright as far as not necessarily dumping into that shoulder. So we still want to stay strong through that whole chain of the arm. All right, ladies, we'll give it about 10 more seconds here before we get to the other side. Okay, let's uncross that left leg and then we're going to just bias our weight towards the right hip. So my right arm is down, still nice and strong, kind of lined up, you should say, under the shoulder, pretty much shoulder, elbow, wrist. We've got, again, our weight more on the right side now. My left hand's just going to rest at my left knee just to kind of get it out of the way. And we're going to roll pretty much into any soft tissue around the hip and the buttocks area. So if you feel like you want to be more on the back side or posterior side, or even if you want to go more onto your side hip musculature, that is where your body can be your guide. Again, we can let that right knee fall open. So I've just let my right knee kind of fall out to the side. That changes, again, kind of the musculature. Carolyn's making a face. Nobody can see that in the camera. And now that brings up a good point. There's definitely, again, a difference between a hurt so good and a hurt so bad. So again, if there's an area that's just really tender that doesn't seem to be wanting to release, that's probably a good time to maybe work around the area and come back to it. Your foam roller techniques, I would say, maybe doing once a day versus necessarily multiple times, just again, so we don't irritate the tissues. So let's take that right foot, let's cross it over at the left knee. We'll roll for about 25-30 seconds here. And then we're gonna move into a little bit of kind of some core strengthening and stretching work to reap some of the benefits of the rolling that we've done, but also to show you what a cool tool this foam roller can be. All right, so from here, ladies, I'm gonna ask you to be very careful as you come off the roll. We're gonna take the roll and we're gonna slide it between our hips and our heels. So make sure you've got plenty of room on your mat to come down. And this is mainly just to make sure that the foam roller doesn't get away from us, but we're gonna rest on our back. And then I'm gonna ask you to place the roller underneath your feet, okay? And we're gonna give a nice wake-up call to the back side of our body. So the hamstrings area, the back of the thighs, and even kind of the tush and the glutes. So let your feet really kind of wrap around the roll, which is a nice thing for foot mobility and ankle mobility. My arms are resting by my sides. From here, we're gonna move into a pelvic curl. So imagine a string attached to your tailbone, and that string is beginning to lift your hips and then your spine off the mat. You want to have a sense of really reaching the knees forward as if you're trying to reach them past your toes. Take a breath in. With your exhale, we're going to lower down. That tail's going to be the last piece to land. And we're going to do that 3 more times this morning. Exhale. That tail leads the way. Lifting. Take a breath in here at the top. Exhale to lower down. Breastbone, rib cage, lower back, and tailwinds last. We'll go through 2 more. Exhaling to lift. Inhaling to hold. Exhaling to lower down. And 1 more repetition here. Exhaling to lift. Inhaling to hold, and exhaling to lower back down. And allowing that pelvis to fully land. So from here, we're gonna bring that foam roller once again kind of towards the hips or the buttocks. Okay, I've kind of just drawn it together, or drawn it towards myself with my feet. Now my feet are gonna go down in front of the roll. We're gonna do 1 more pelvic curl or hip lift to lift the hips and draw the roller underneath our pelvis. So this is definitely a pretty good amount of range of, or a pretty good range of motion in the hip joints. So definitely, if this is something that if you've got a half roller or even like a yoga pillow or bolster, that you may want to adjust your range of motion. So there are definitely a lot of different ways that we can do this position. So from here, make sure that your head and neck are resting on the mat. The roller, again, is underneath our pelvis. So it's not underneath our lower back curve, and it's not so close to the tailbone that it feels like it's gonna pop out. But this is a really great way to kind of loosen up or decompress the SI joint area, if that's, again, a key word that you've heard about, or if you've dealt with some SI joint issues. But it's also a nice way to open up the front of the hips. So as we talk about our daily activities, sitting in the car, sitting at the desk, even running, bicycling, a lot of that gets the front of our hips pretty tight, the front side of our body. So what I'll ask of you from here is we're gonna take our right leg, we're gonna pull it in towards our chest, we're gonna grab behind the thigh, pull it close, close, close to the chest. Now this already may be a great stretch for the front of your left hip. If you need more, you're going to start to slide that left foot down along your mat, away from the right knee. So continue to feel that you're pulling the right knee to the chest as you're reaching the left foot away from your body. So our goal here is stretching out our hip flexor group, the front of the hip or the thigh, protecting our back by really bringing that right thigh into our chest to make sure that we can't necessarily let our back go into too much of a lordosis or extension. Now to switch things out, ladies, I'm going to have you ground down through that left foot, but slide it in along the mat. Make sure that you can kind of feel that foot on the ground as you release the right leg, and then pull the left thigh in towards your chest. We're going to grab behind the thigh. Once again, pulling it close. This may already be a nice stretch for that right side, but if you need more, we slide the right foot down along the mat, reaching in opposition to the left knee, pulling into the chest or being drawn into the chest. As you're doing this, just maybe take a little moment to revisit the neck and the shoulders. Just make sure you're not holding a lot of tension between the ear and the jaw. Once again, feel your right foot on the ground. Grounding down, you're going to slide the foot back in. Make sure that you feel the foot on the ground before you release that left leg. Now feeling both feet on the ground, I'm going to ask you to sink the feet, lift the hips to slide the roller out from underneath, and just take one moment here to let your hips rest down on the mat and just reap some of the benefits of the work you've done. So just taking a moment to feel. You may feel like there's just a little bit more kind of warmth and blood flow kind of behind the pelvis and the lower back and the hip area. So always good to just take a moment to feel. I'd like to finish up this series or this class with lying on the foam roller. So as everybody's ready, we'll just kind of take a moment to get ourselves up, and then we're going to turn the foam rollers lengthwise, and we're going to very carefully sit on the edge. And be careful again as you're doing this, especially transitioning if you're doing this or doing this from home. You're going to place your hands on either side, and we're going to roll ourselves down. So making sure that the head is fully supported. So we're supported from pretty much the skull all the way down to the tail. And if you did any exercise with the foam roller each day, I talked about rolling out the glutes a little bit as a pretty much a good daily exercise. If you did anything, this is a great exercise just for postural awareness. This uses gravity with us versus against us. As Caroline mentioned earlier, opening up through the front of the chest and the shoulders. I'm going to ask everybody to reach your arms up towards the ceiling, palms facing one another. Then we're going to actively reach our arms open into a T position. And what I'm looking for here is just that the arms are at about shoulder height. So I'm not necessarily trying to get to the floor right now, because I want to really maximize the openness across the chest, staying safe within the shoulder joint. I want to feel that my upper back is nice and broad, that the foam roller is really sitting between the shoulder blades. We're breathing. And then we're going to bring those arms back up over the shoulders. And then once again, we're going to inhale and open. Continue to breathe here. We'll take about 2 more breaths. Really reaching from fingertip to fingertip across the front side of our body. And then back in. And now what I'll ask of you from here is to bend your elbows. So my lower arm is parallel to the floor. We're going into a goalpost position. So we're going to take our elbows and we're going to spread them open again across the chest. And it's not so much how I can get my elbows down to the mat, but can I get the back of my hands or my wrists into a little more external rotation. So Caroline, I'm going to have you maybe even lift your elbows up just a tiny bit to be, yes, perfect, in line with the shoulders. Good. Now, here's the thought. I want you to imagine Caroline's healing hands kind of working from your chest or your breastbone, sternum, walking them out kind of along the collarbones to really spread open out to either elbow. Really opening up across the chest. We'll take about 2 more breaths here. And then from here, we'll bring the arms back in. I'm going to ask everybody to rest their arms down by their sides. And this is a great place again just to reap the benefits of the work that we've done today. So making sure you're breathing, doing a mental scan from the head, through the ribs, through the pelvis, and just allowing the body to settle along the roll and be supported along the roll. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Again, I'm Lauren Syed from Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance in Greenville, North Carolina. We've got Caroline Connolly here with us from Refreshology, Massage and Aesthetics in Greenville, North Carolina, and Jennifer Youngs, owner of Young's Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. Thank you again for joining us, and definitely keep an eye out for more content.